delighted to be joined by Scott from Fallujah. Did I say that right? Fallujah. Did I say the
Yeah,
J?
Fallujah. Yeah,
Fallujah.
you did.
Fallujah.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
correctly.
Thanks for joining me. Much appreciated, and I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So the new album, your fifth album, Empyrean, is out on the 9th of September, which is a week today,
Yeah,
on Metal
7 days.
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
Now that you've finished it, I know you have to do all this stuff like talking to me and having to put up with me asking you questions and the annoying lead up to the release. But how do you feel now the album's finished?
Oh man, so good, dude. It was probably the hardest album to put together. It wasn't like as more painful than any other, but looking back, it was definitely the most work we've ever put into an album. And it was just like when we were in the middle of it, it felt like it was gonna never end. It was kind of like, when you write tracks and in pre-pro, you kind of have like these ambitious ideas, and that's where the ambitious ideas are like created, and then 6 months to 8 months after you write it, then all of a sudden you have to deal with all these ideas that you had, and trying to tediously record them and get them done. And it's like, good God, what did we? I remember in the middle of the recording process being like, damn, this is quite the task. What did we set ourselves up with? It just took so long, and it just was so much work. And the fact that it was just so intricate that, like, I don't know, just felt like quite the task. So when it was finally over, I was like, damn, I can't believe it. And then the next thing was just like, man, the anxiousness of just how are people going to react to it? You know what I mean? Like, but I think it kind of started to relax once we got the first single out, and I got to see how people were reacting and getting excited about the guitar work and the new members and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
now it's just been excitement, and now the anxiety has slowly come back, because not only uh, is the album coming out on the 9th. That's awesome. But 2 days later, we go out on our co-headliner with Psycroptic, and I just want to be real tight, sounding real good, and perform this album really well. And so yeah, I'm back to being anxious, practicing all day again. So
You've literally like stumbled across most of the questions I was going to ask you anyway about the tour and the album. So
oh yeah, keep going with it, man. Yeah.
the Yeah, so you said like you had loads of ideas. Was that partly because of the pandemic that you had a lot of downtime as well? Or because between Undying Light and Dreamless was like 3 years apart between
Yeah.
releases, and this one again is 3 years. So I was just curious, like, was it always going to be a 2022 release, or did the
Mm,
pandemic have something to do with that?
I tried my best to get it done faster, but it just like, I think because of the pandemic, I just kept getting thrown all these obstacles, and I had to just like kind of took my time away from exclusively working on the music. You know what I mean? Like, we lose one member, and I totally respect why they wanted to go to kind of go on to a new thing, especially not knowing all the tours are ever going to come back. Or we're going to be going back to our old rig or whatever. So, some people wanted to go on and do other things. So it's like, all right, I totally respect that. But now I got to like go find people and audition. And I don't want to, when we sat down for this record before the pandemic started, the people that were super motivated to work on it, we all agreed like this, it has to be the craziest record we've ever done. It has to be our best work. You know what I mean? We really have to like set the bar high and like kind of establish like a new base moving forward. So it was like we really put the pressure on ourselves. So when we needed new members, we like approached it in the same exact way. Like, whoever is gonna replace this guy, he's got to be absolutely insane, and it can't just be like we can't just get somebody because we really want to get it done real fast. And that kind of postponed it a little bit. You know what I mean? When I was auditioning for a new vocalist, I had most of the songs done, and maybe if we were like a solid unit, we could have come together, maybe got it done 4 or 5 months earlier, maybe, or 6 months. I don't. I have no idea. Woulda, coulda. But yeah, we just spent a lot of time finding people, and then when those people came in, we were tediously working on the music together. So maybe if we weren't in a pandemic and we had tours on the horizon, we would have rushed and stuff, and maybe the album probably wouldn't sound the same, honestly. But because of the extra downtime and having no pressure of tours looming, we were able to do stuff we've never done before. Like, like look at the tracks that are finished and be like, okay, like this track is it's cool, but is there a point where it loses momentum? Is there a point where it feels unbalanced? Maybe we went too proggy, or maybe we went too riffy or whatever. And was the first time we were able to like take songs and really like delete entire parts and replace them with something better. You know what I mean? And that's just like not really a thing that we would do in the past because it was so urgent. It was almost like just put the time in to, like in the moment to think of something that's going to be there and it's not going to change. You know what I mean? Which is like impossible to do, but that's like the goal. You're like, let's just get this done right now and move on so we can complete more songs. And that's usually how all the records before are done. I mean, and then, I like them, but it's kind of cool to go through this one, and absolutely every single second of this record is exactly how we wanted. We like poured over it and made sure it was like there was nothing on there that we would go back and be like, oh, it's kind of this part kind of slowed down a little bit. I wish there was a little bit more here, or the whole song is so intricate and complex and intense, but this part seems a little like we didn't get enough time to put in it. We made sure there was not a single second that didn't have it like totally embellished and motif shoved all over it. So yeah, I would
It's so
say.
funny you say that because I always like to ask the question to bands like once the album's finished and it's been mixed and mastered and they've listened to it, how often do bands go, "Oh man, I wish I could have changed this part here," and there have
Yeah,
been bands who have said like, "Oh, there was that part there where, like you said, could have slowed down," or So it's actually a nice change for you to sit there and sort of say like you're 100%, 110% happy with this output.
yeah, for sure. I mean, we just really pulled out all the stops kind of, and just a lot of staying up late and working on it nonstop. And even we were taking our time, and then eventually like a real deadline did start to come up, and it was like we were
Okay.
back to getting urgent again. But I don't think there was anything we didn't anything that we wanted to do that we didn't do. You know what I mean? It was like every detail is there, and sometimes that just you don't maybe you have some cool idea to happen after the song, in between the songs, and it requires maybe some stuff with like synth or like instrumental, but all that stuff gets like pushed to the last minute. Like we were able to like have all the cool details be worked on, and you know spare no expense with time, I guess.
Have you had any feedback yet from people who've heard the album in full? Like, obviously, I imagine there's a few journalists and stuff who've heard it, and like, have you had any feedback on the album in its completeness?
So I've sent it to a couple friends and a couple like artists that maybe I look up to, but we're like friends, like, hey, check this out, this is the thing I've been telling you, I've been working my ass off on. And then also a few actually I think uh by now I think I'm over 20 or something interviews for this, 20
Okay,
something. I don't know. So I got some feedback. It's pretty cool, and most of it is really awesome. You know what I mean? I mean, I was there for the entire last record's interview process and people reacting. Last time I actually, for some reason, I was very secretive about everything. Kept it isolated from everyone. Just I don't know, maybe I was just used to doing that. That's how bands do it or whatever. So I didn't show it to anybody. So it's kind of just like, there you go.
right.
Where this time was a little almost opposite because I got my Twitch stream and I share a lot with my community. Like I share even tracking leads and stuff. And I even brought my stream into the studio, gave them a little like fly on the wall experience, and they got to
Cool.
hear drums being recorded, vocals being recorded, things being discussed about the mix. And I don't know. So yeah, along the way, I've got to hear people react. But like, yeah, the last couple of weeks has been really hearing um, people react, and it's also cool. A lot of the people doing the interviews have been fans of the band. You know what I mean? So they know the records, they like know the journey, and they know the story of like where we came from and how we were progressing, and then we go into Undying Light with this experiment, and then we're coming back with this. And so far, maybe just because I'm like face to face with them, they don't want to, but they seem to be really into it. They seem to be really enthusiastic. And the ones that are Fallujah fans, like of the discography, it's like it seems like this is exactly what they wanted. Like, but the next step, you know what I mean? Not just the same album or whatever. It's like, all right, I like the journey. This is where I wanted the band to go, which is cool because sometimes I don't always agree with the fans. Clearly, I just kind of do what I feel or whatever, and
Yeah.
the mission with this one was just to make the ultimate Fallujah record. So it's stoked to see the fans of the older discography kind of like co-sign on it, like endorse it, like yeah, this is it. I don't know if they're just saying it, but I've heard people agreeing that this is our best work, and that's how I feel too. So, but I mean, it's kind of my job as the artist to be real confident.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we started this podcast in the pandemic, myself and my mate from school, and we are metal fans first and foremost. Like, you know, we go to festivals like Downloads,
Hell yeah.
festivals abroad. Like, so we are music fans first and foremost. This is a hobby for us, so we get the chance to like sit and chat to you, Scott, or other bands, and we get the
Right.
albums like a couple of weeks in advance of when it's to be released. So, um, from a music fan and Fallujah fan, you know, like you said, I think this album is absolutely brilliant. Like,
Awesome, man.
like for 10 tracks, and the thing with I don't know how you describe Fallujah, but technical death metal or whatever you want to describe, it is a very niche genre, and it can be very at times, you know, more 10 tracks can be a lot to take in
Yeah.
because there's so much going on. This album is so expansive and it goes in so many different directions, like with the clean vocals and the female vocals complementing that as well, which I think is on Embrace Oblivion, I think, the third track.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like I love that bit there. Like I was saying before we came on start recording. Sorry, the title Celestial Resonance, the
Hmm.
instrumental, like is absolutely brilliant. The way it like ebbs and flows in it all.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
think this is like I love Dreamless, like
yeah.
loved it, but I think this is probably your best output. If
Wow,
I'm being
so
honest,
sick to
Scott.
hear. That's so sick to
Um,
hear, man. I mean,
so I'm gonna put you on the spot then, because I like to do
sure.
this. Like for fans of Fallujah, where and the fans expecting it in the weeks coming, where do you rank this in your discography?
I mean, to me, it's clearly the best record we put together. I mean, obviously, you have to like not everything works out perfectly. I wish whoever they were, I wish they dealing with lineup changes and all that. It would be nice to have a perfect story, but we got to do with what we can. So I found the best musicians I could find for the job, and honestly, musicians that brought it way further than I could have done on my own for sure. There's just no way. Like the collaboration Kyle had and Evan had, like those guys are pros. They really call me out on my weaknesses. You know what I mean? They really,
Okay.
they see, okay, you need to finish that. And then, having Andrew there, like me and him have been there from the beginning, and we both had this like same kind of like super inspired attitude to just like attack this record. You know what I mean? And the whole idea was like we have to, it literally has to be our best work. You know what I mean? We just like right during the pandemic, we both turned 30. It's kind of like a turning point for us, and it's like, at what level do we want to do this? Do we want to do this as like kids kind of like having fun with it, or like is this what we do? You know what I mean? Like let's make something like as extraordinary as we can produce with our brains. You know what I mean? And try to set out to do what we were trying to do when we were 17 and 18, but with the maturity and experience that we have, you know what I mean, and no longer emulating somebody, but creating our own thing, you know what I mean, and pushing a sound that we like further that we've created. So just with the I don't know, just the way we poured over this record is it was much different. It was the same as the other records, but it was much different in the sense that we were able to put like Dreamless, the songs that are on that, those are the songs that I started and finished and put them on. There's not like a bunch of extra tracks hidden somewhere. You know what I mean? Same with the other albums. There may be some half songs here and there, barely or whatever, that I just abandoned. I was like, this is not worth it. Let's go to these other things. But with this album, there was I think there was up to maybe 15 or 16 full tracks and just tons and tons of ideas that could have been grown into tracks. So we like really took our time to make sure like what is the balance of this album going to feel like trying to imagine our head. Is it going to be like huge and atmospheric and heavy with like fast riffs sparkled all over it, you know what I mean? Or like, like what's the balance? And like we kind of envisioned it to be like this kind of like fast kind of tech death that like has these like kind of like cliffs that it jumps off essentially. Like you're doing tech death, you're ripping, all of a sudden you're just flying like an eagle. You go into like the
Yeah,
chorus or
yeah.
whatever, and after you finish your flight, you like park somewhere and like stare at the ocean and chill there for a second, and then fucking jump off the cliff again, and like these huge ups and downs, and making sure that like yeah. The other thing is I want it to be like you know, if I'm competing with myself, I want it to be the most intense and aggressive album that we've ever had. I wanted them to kind of feel like this like aggressive energy, this angst, because it's kind of the energy we had when we were like trying to write the music. It was kind of like a like let's like rip these people's heads off, you know what I mean? Like let's make shit that's just gonna like absolutely just melt their faces off when they listen to this. They're not even gonna know what they're listening to. They're gonna have to listen to it 3 or 4 times and be like, oh shit. Like the first time you heard Bleed, I don't know if the first time you heard Bleed or maybe Necrophages. Like I remember my brain as like a kid being like, what is, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
It's like it reminded me of like a stuttering computer program or like music that was like you couldn't get a hold of it or something like that. You know, I want it to be kind of like that, just so intense that people really have to digest it, but like, you know, they want it or something. So just to close it off, yeah, man. I mean, to me, it feels like our best work just by the amount of work we put into it, the like the attention to detail, and just like, you know, we really like curated this record. It wasn't kind of like it didn't, the record didn't have us, like we had control of it, which is like not, that's like never the case, really. I feel like music kind of takes a life of its own, and you kind of are just nurturing it to its full potential. Like maybe in the beginning, you're the one creating it, and I'll have an idea to make a slow song, a fast song, whatever. But eventually, it's what it is, and you're just trying to grow it into the best version of itself, and you don't really have control over it, barely. And this album was like I felt like we were like holding it down, like strangling it, beating the shit out of it, and just like until it turned all into diamonds and shit. So I don't know. Yeah,
There is a lot of your analogy of like going off a cliff and then coming back up into the sea and stuff. That is like I think into the Eventide is a perfect track that
yeah,
encapsulates that. But also your point of the album, you want it to be really heavy and a
yeah,
bit confusing, but there is so much space to breathe on it as well that you don't get just full on, blast beats and riffing, and
sure,
there is that bit. I just want to come on to Kyle and Evan quickly. And
sure,
first of all, I just want to talk about Evan because clearly Fallujah is a very technical band, and you need someone who can step up. And I imagine your MO was I need someone who's ready now and not who I can take on and then they can learn stuff as they go. So,
oh
like,
sure, yeah.
I mean, first of all, Evan, I mean, the bass player on this record is incredible. Like, how did you find it? Was it an old school notice on the board, like a note on the board, or was it like through contacts or?
Well, I met him from touring with the Faceless. Like we met each other. I think that was the first time we met, was when he was touring with the Faceless, and we did Summer Slaughter 2014. And funny enough, we started becoming friends on that tour with all the dudes in that band. And then like we were driving through Canada, and I happened to be driving my rig, our van and trailer. We were just like following right behind him. It was like this particularly long drive through Canada. We were like leaving the eastern part of Canada, and we had to like travel through this just nothingness for like, I think it was like 30 something hours. Thanks, booking agents. But yeah, we're driving, and there's just literally like warning moose like every 5 seconds, and we're just like, all right, well, I'm glad I'm following them. They're renting that van. This is our van, you know. And then, dude, like I didn't see it, but like they just started swerving around like crazy. All this plastic started flying around, and basically what happened is they hit like a herd of moose, but they must have scattered. It was so quick I didn't even see it falling behind them, but they just destroyed their vehicle, absolutely destroyed it. And I mean, the only way for them to continue momentarily was for like their entire band to pile in our 15 passenger van. So we had, I don't know, like 8 or 9 or 10 people in our van. And Archfire, who was on the tour, they picked up their trailer. So like the other bands kind of like tag team. All right, we'll take all the humans, you take all their gear, and we'll
Nice.
get out of here. And then yeah, after that, we just we became, situations like that. You just became friends. I think I woke up the next morning after that night because we had to drive all night. I remember waking up with like Michael Keane's nose, literally like this. Like we were both asleep, and we somehow slept. And I woke up, and he was just, I was like, oh my God. Like, and I don't really know this guy. It's like the first time I met this dude. Like, I was actually a pretty big fan of his guitar playing. And like, oh, dude, like he smells breath and shit. So yeah, we were always friends after that, and we would see each other at like things like NAMM and stuff. And He's always been my favorite bass player from the beginning. I mean, in fact, he played a show that got me into death metal. Like when I was like, I had to have been like 14 or something like that. I went to the show in Fresno, saw Job for a Cowboy, From a Second Story Window, Cattle Decapitation, and Animosity. I think Animosity played
Wow.
second. And Evan was in, that was his like original band with like Naveen and shit. And like that show got me into death metal straight up. But when I got home from that, it was over. I was like, this is what I want to do. You know what I mean? So kind of full circle, we needed somebody. He's my top choice always. So I'm going to go first for that or whatever. And I sent him the music and he was just like super into it. Like he was just honestly, and I think he's the kind of guy where it's, you can't convince him to do anything. You know what I mean? He's got to want to do it or not do it. And I don't think he's done a lot lately, honestly. I think he's just preferred to do other things. But I sent him the music. He was just like, yo, this is perfect for my playing and what I want to add to stuff. And there's a space for me to add things. And I'm like, yes, please, like add your things. You know what I mean? Like change this
Yeah.
music, make it all crazy. And when I hit him up at first, there was something going on in his life and with his house that like it's just like it wasn't in the cards. He had this huge project he had to finish, and he's like, "Damn, it sucks. I really want to do it." And I'm like, "Well, hold on, you know." So I spent 2 or 3 months more working on the stuff I had to work on. Kind of got that done, and I hit him up again, and he's like, "Oh shit, that opportunity is still there." I'm like, "Hell yes, it is." And he went full blast after that. We started he started sending me demos, and that was just so much fun for me to just hear his playing on our music. I was just going nuts in my apartment. So just put on the track super loud, just like, yeah. And then I'd have to like write an email all serious, like, yeah, pretty good, but you know what I mean? It was just such a good time. And then yeah, he killed it. Yeah, and he clearly had a lot of enthusiasm for the music, and he's just yeah, very encouraging, and also little advice here and there for structures and stuff like that. And yeah, I think for a month or so he was putting together demos, and once we kind of approved all of his ideas and we're like, yeah, that's all good. He took I think he rehearsed it, and then he like took I think a week off or something from all of his schedule and just like recorded the whole thing at once, which is awesome too because I'm used to recording the bass myself. So it was like a whole element was taken off my chest. It was just like
Yeah, yeah.
off my shoulders, I guess. Super sick, man. Yeah, pleasure to work with that guy.
And so are they now full-time members, Kyle and Adam?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, we're trying to put together another record with this lineup. I think we got a sick. This is a pretty sick, magical lineup. So trying to get as much music out of them.
So you've already started
Yeah,
other
we've agreed to do the next record, and yeah,
cool, cool.
I mean, we got a lot of shit taking up our time right now, but yeah, it's in the visualization stage. Like, what is it going to be? You know what I mean? Before we sit down and really hack away at it.
But I mean, you've got this album to tour yet,
Yeah,
you touched on earlier. You're doing North America in September with Psycroptic, which
yeah,
is
exactly.
like I know we're talking about you, but their album Divine Council they released like a month or two. I don't know what year we're
Yeah,
in,
it's in
but
August.
it was August. Okay,
Yeah,
like they released a Wicked album, another Wicked band. Like that's a great
dude,
package.
dude. Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of that band since like 2006 when Symbols of Failure came out. So I've known that band. I've been obsessed with that band. That guitar player is like totally influenced like me with all the hybrid picking, like that death metal hybrid picking. It's like definitely like it was all about that guy. I'm about to definitely fanboy that dude and annoy him next month. But yeah, so I heard that record and dude, yeah, like if you know the band, yeah, you know that this is like kind of a special record. So it's kind of
Yeah,
that's the way I think. When I heard it, I was like, God damn, like all right, because I've listened to all their records and they're all great, but there's this kind of like magical energy. It kind of reminds me of the energy that we put with our album. There's like this like fierceness. Maybe they had more time too during the pandemic. I don't know, but I listened
it's
to
going
it
to
and
be
it's like
great. Like seeing
fierce.
like the two of you, like the two albums being similar but different on this tour. You know, like
Yeah.
I mean, and then of course you're doing, I think November is it? You're coming to Europe with
Yes.
Rivers of Nihil, Elysion, and a couple.
Inferi
Okay,
and Harbinger. Yeah, yeah. And I
Harbinger,
mean,
that's the one.
super excited about that. Allegion, I've known those guys. We've toured with those guys. Rivers, we just did a tour. I grew up knowing those guys since I was like 20 or something. And then
Really?
Inferi, like I literally talked to Malcolm today. Like the guy helped some Malcolm put together the album layout for this record and the last record. He
Okay.
records a lot of playthroughs for us. Like that's my dude. I've known that dude since I was like 18 or whatever. And it's just like we're all gonna be on a bus together. I can't believe it. Like super excited, very
It
grateful.
it's a great. That's another great lineup, and like I saw Rivers of Nihil there in or about 2 weeks ago, a festival called Art Tangent. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I saw him posting pictures.
yeah, and I actually got managed to speak to Jake after for like half an hour.
Oh great.
And it
He's a
was
good
like
dude.
I was like just seeing them playing like Where Owls Know My Name is like one of my favorite like tech death metal albums. Like it just sort of
Sick.
it blew my mind when I heard it first. So getting to see him play that live. Um, so yeah, that's going to be an incredible tour. Like, and it's a fairly big one, isn't it, around Europe? Like 20 plus dates.
Yeah. I mean, more the merrier for me when it comes to Europe. You know, we've got to pay those bills. So, and also, I haven't been there in 2 years. I'm really itching to get back and see my friends. I mean, we toured there. The first time we toured there was 2013. So we've, made a lot of connections and stuff around there. So it was super lame when the pandemic happened. It's like, damn, I hope we're gonna go back over there. It's fucking crazy. So I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah,
anxious to get back and kind of heal that wound.
yeah. Well, I'm looking. As I said, I live in Dublin, but I'm looking at a few dates around sort of UK that I might try and swing because it's just too good to pass up
Dude,
that
come through.
opportunity. Unfortunately, going to see you in Psycroptic is just a bit step too far at
Yeah.
this stage. But maybe you can bring that over at some point as well.
Dude, I would love to. And I will be streaming most of it. So if you
Oh,
like
really?
yeah, I have a Twitch stream. It's something I've been doing the last couple of years. And I streamed a lot of the Rivers tour we did back in April, May, but now I've upgraded my rig, so I should even have even better connection. And
That's fine.
yeah,
Tell
I'm
me
gonna
your
try to.
tell me your
So
username. I'm gonna find you
yeah,
now.
yeah. Twitch .tv/Scott Carstairs is just my name, just
Oh,
straight
okay.
up. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have like a POV like backpack where I'm gonna just like walk around the venue and do whatever. And people seem to get a lot of enjoyment, especially for those that are not in North America. That's my audience.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
great.
yeah, because they're not gonna get the tour, so they get to see it. They get to see what it's like and stuff. And it's not the same as being there, but it's kind of close. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna add you there, and I'm gonna check that out as well.
Yeah, do
Listen,
it.
I know you've got a head on. You've got probably another million interviews to do. Um, but like, thanks so much for chatting with me. The album's out on the 9th week today, and
Yeah,
I hope you. I wish you all the best with the album release because you deserve it. It's a pretty bloody good album to be honest. So
dude. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
you sit and enjoy all the accolades you're gonna get, and best of luck with the tour. And yeah, hopefully, I don't know, we might meet up in London or something like that on one of the
Dude,
dates.
please do, man. We'll have a
Yeah,
beer. Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate the kind words and enthusiasm, man. It's got me stoked, dude.
Great. Appreciate it. Listen, best of luck on the tour, Scott. Much appreciated, man.
Dude, thank you, man. Have a good day.